Welcome. You are listening to Classic Story Cast. This is Pride and Prejudice. Chapter 4. When Jane and Elizabeth were alone, Jane, who had been careful about praising Mr. Bingley before, told her sister how much she admired him. "He is exactly what a young man should be," she said. "He is sensible, cheerful, and lively. I've never seen anyone with such happy manners. So relaxed and well-mannered." "He's also handsome," Elizabeth replied. "A young man should be, if he can be. That makes him even better. I was really flattered when he asked me to dance again. I didn't expect that." "Really?" "I did expect it for you. But that's one big difference between us. Compliments always surprise you, but not me. What could be more natural than him asking you again? He must have noticed you are much prettier than any other woman in the room. That's not thanks to his charm. He is very pleasant, and I think it's fine for you to like him. You've liked much less interesting people before." "Dear Lizzie, oh, you tend to like everyone too much. You never see faults in anyone. You think everyone is good and nice. I've never heard you say anything bad about anyone. I don't want to judge anyone too quickly, but I always say what I think. I know you do, and that's what makes it surprising. With your good sense, it's amazing that you're so blind to the foolishness of others. Many people pretend to be honest, but you are genuinely straightforward. You see the good in everyone and make it seem even better, while saying nothing about the bad. So, you like this man's sisters too? Their manners aren't as good as his. Not at first, but they are nice when you talk to them. Miss Bingley will live with her brother and manage his house, and I think we'll find her to be a lovely neighbor." Elizabeth listened quietly, but wasn't convinced. Their behavior at the assembly hadn't been impressive, and she was quicker to notice flaws than her sister. She was less inclined to approve of them. They were indeed fine ladies, not lacking in good humor when they wanted to be, and they could be charming. But they were also proud and conceited. They were somewhat attractive, had been educated in a top private school, had a fortune of £20,000, spent more than they should, and associated with high-ranking people. This made them feel entitled to think well of themselves and look down on others. They came from a respectable family in northern England, which they valued more than the fact that their brother's wealth came from trade. Mr. Bingley inherited nearly £100,000 from his father, who had planned to buy an estate, but didn't live to do it. Mr. Bingley also intended to buy one, and sometimes considered his options. But since he had a nice house and the freedom of a manor, many who knew him well wondered if he would just stay at Netherfield and let the next generation buy an estate. His sisters wanted him to have his own estate, but even though he was just a tenant now, Miss Bingley was happy to host at his table. Mrs. Hurst, who married a man with more style than wealth, also liked to think of his house as her home when it suited her. Mr. Bingley was only 2 years past his coming of age when he was encouraged to look at Netherfield House. He did look at it for half an hour, liked the location and main rooms, was pleased with what the owner said, and decided to take it right away. Bingley and Darcy had a strong friendship, despite their very different personalities. Bingley was drawn to Darcy because of his easygoing and open nature, even though it was the opposite of his own. Bingley never seemed unhappy with Darcy's character. He relied on Darcy's friendship and respected his judgment. Darcy was the smarter one, Bingley was not lacking in intelligence, but Darcy was clever. Darcy was also proud, reserved, and picky. And while he was well-mannered, he wasn't very welcoming. In that way, Bingley had the advantage. Bingley was sure to be liked wherever he went, while Darcy often offended people. Their comments about the Meryton Assembly showed their personalities. Bingley had never met nicer people or prettier girls. Everyone had been kind and attentive to him. There was no formality or stiffness. He felt comfortable with everyone. As for Miss Bennet, he thought she was the most beautiful angel. Darcy, on the other hand, saw a group of people with little beauty and no style. He felt no interest in any of them and received no attention or pleasure. He admitted that Miss Bennet was pretty, but he thought she smiled too much. Mrs. Hurst and her sister agreed with him, but they still admired and liked her, calling her a sweet girl, and said they wouldn't mind getting to know her better. So, Miss Bennet was seen as a sweet girl, and their brother felt justified in thinking about her as he wished.